Hi there, what's up? Welcome back to the channel in which we are going to go into some ethical hacking and cybersecurity tips, especially for you. My name is Pablo, I'm an ethical hacker, and today I'm going to hack a little virtual computer called Mr. Robot. Now, Mr. Robot is a virtual computer that you can actually go and hack in order to test your ethical hacking skills, and it's based on the popular TV series Mr. Robot, which is also about hacking. So without further ado, let's jump into the hacking part. Have you ever wondered what life looks like through the eyes of a computer hacker? Have you ever wanted to learn the skill sets to hack just about anything? My name is Pablo and I've acquired these skills. As an ethical hacker, I hack just about anything I can find. Allow me to take you on a journey through the world of cybersecurity to teach you everything it takes to become a successful computer hacker. Ready? Let's go. All right, a little disclaimer though, because I actually went ahead and did this before. This is going to be sped up a little bit, so don't think that I'm some kind of superhuman and I know all the solutions to all the problems. I just know where to look and I've done this before, so that's why it's actually a little bit quicker. If you want to have a full write down of this VM, you can go and click the link in the description, which will take you to a Medium link in which you can actually see the full write-up of this machine. Now, I already went ahead and looked for the IP, which is located at 109. So I'm going to write this down in my notepad. So keeping a notepad is very, very important when you're doing an ethical hacking assessment, because you're going to forget stuff. And if you don't write it down, you're just going to have a tougher time and it's going to take you a lot longer to hack something. So we have our IP and we're going to go into the reconnaissance phase. So I'm going to use a tool called Nmap, which is basically a network scanner. I'm going to use the tag A in order to scan for common ports and use scripts on those ports. And I'm going to define my target. As you can see, I did this before, so autocomplete is helping me here a little bit. And this should be finished in a couple seconds. Now, I'm going to go back to my notes and I'm already going to write a little ports section in which we can write down all the ports that we're going to find. So we have ports 22, TCP is actually closed. We have port 80, TCP, Apache. This is actually SSH. So Apache, HTTP, and then we have 443 TCP, which is Apache HTTPS. So there is a web server running on this machine. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and open up a browser and go ahead and check the website out. All right, we get a little bit of an animation here of a Linux machine booting. Now, this is not possible to have this in a web kind of environment. So this is just an animation. It has nothing to do with the actual Linux here. Now, while this is playing, I'm going to use a little plugin that I have called Webalizer in order to check what is going on here. And if I go to my Webalizer, you can see that WordPress is running on this website. So this also means that if I go to /login, I'm actually going to get a WordPress login. Now, what is very important to do whenever you find a website like this is to go ahead and run nicto. So I'm gonna say nicto host, and again, autocomplete helping me from the previous time, .1.109, and I'm going to go ahead and scan this website to see what is going on there and what's happening. Now this is going to take a little while, so I'm going to be back once the scan has finished. All right, so the scan has completed, and as confirmed earlier, it is running a WordPress website. Now, we don't really have any logging yet. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and look for hidden directories that we may have missed. So a good place to start looking is actually, well, I'm going to open up a new tab, is actually robots.txt. And as you can see, I looked at it before, and here we actually have a key which we are going to need in order to fully complete this assessment. So we also have an fsociety.dic file, which is probably going to be a dictionary file. So let's download these files. I already have a directory called Mr. Robot from before, but I'm actually going to delete everything. Mr. Robot. And I'm going to make the directory again. Mr. Robot, yes. I'm going to go into that directory so everything is very neatly packed in the same directory. And now I'm going to say wget, we're going to get the key, first of all. And we're also going to get our fsociety dictionary. Now, we're going to look at what is in the dictionary. So I'm going to say head fsociety.dic, and we see indeed a couple of numbers. Sorry, not numbers, but words. So if we go ahead and do a word count on this, word count per line, fsociety, we're going to see that there's 858,160 words in this word list. Now, upon looking at it before, so we can say cats fsociety dictionary pipe more. We can actually see that there's a couple of things in here, and there are in fact some doubles in here. So as you can see, we have some double words. There may be some more in here, but we want to, of course, filter those out because, yeah, it's going to speed up our hacking a whole lot more if we don't have to bother with double words. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort my dictionary, and I'm going to check for the unique ones, and I'm going to do a word count on that to see if there's actually doubles in there. And this actually leaves us with 11,451 words. So in order to go ahead and put this in a new word list, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say sort fsociety.dictionary, but instead of word counting it, we're going to put it in fsociety filtered, which is going to be a new file. So we'll go ahead and do that, ls, and now we have a filtered dictionary. So if I do another word count on that, you're going to see that we're left with these 11,451 words. Okay, so we got that. Now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and try and see if we can log into this WordPress page. Now, if I type Pablo and a random password, you're going to see that it says invalid username. Now, this is interesting because it's not saying invalid username or password. It's specifically saying invalid username. So maybe we can check all the words in that word list, check if it says invalid username, and then see if it can work something out. So we're going to use two tools for that. The first one is going to be Burp Suite, which is basically going to act as a tool to see what kind of requests are being sent over to the web server. And then the other one that we're going to use is going to be Hydra, which is a tool that is going to allow us to brute force these passwords. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the proxy. I'm going to go to options. So it's listening on the correct interface. We want to intercept responses as well. And we don't really care about WebSocket messages. Now, in order to run our traffic through Burp, we need to go ahead and set up the proxy. I'm using Foxy Proxy for this. I actually have this set up already. If you want to go to options, and Burp Suite, this is how I've set it up. So I'm basically referring to my own computer on port 8080, which is also where Burp is listening, if you see here. So I'm gonna go back to intercept. I'm gonna exit out of this and enable my Foxy proxy. So if I type Pablo here and a random password, you're gonna see that my Burp Suite is popping up and it's giving me some information about the request. So we're dealing with a post request here and with a couple of parameters being the login, Pablo, the password, which is going to be something random, WP submit is going to be login, and then a redirect and a test cookie. So I'm going to leave this open here, and I'm going to configure my Hydra in order to basically hack or enumerate the username. So I'm going to say Hydra -capital L because I want to give it a file. F society filtered. The password is going to be something random because we don't really care about the password for now. Then we need our target. And then we need to give it a type of brute forcing that it's going to do. So Hydra can do SSH, can do post requests, get requests, can do FTP. But in our case, it's going to be a post form because that's what we've seen in Burp. And now we need to give it some additional parameters. So first of all, where do you want the post request to go? So as we saw in Burp here, it's actually going to wp login.php. So that's what we're going to give it. Now we need to give it the parameters that we want. So the login is going to be whatever user Hydra can read from the file. The password is going to be, of course, the password. Oops. Our WP submit parameter is going to be log plus in, which you can also see here. And we actually don't need a redirect for now. Now we need to give it a point of failure. So as we've seen before, it says invalid username whenever there is a wrong username. So we're going to give that to Hydra. So F is invalid username and then close the brackets. We're going to start this brute forcing attack. It should take around 4 minutes and we're going to get our username. So I'm going to skip a little bit until we're there. All right, so the scan is not fully finished, but we see that we already have a user called Elliot. And if I go to my WordPress here and I type in Elliot instead, you're going to see that we get a little bit of a different error message. So my burp is still holding this up. The password field is empty. So now we have the password you entered for username Elliot is incorrect, which is actually a good thing because now we know that Elliot is a valid user. Now I'm going to check again with Hydra if the password is also in that file. So we're going to adjust our command a little bit. So it's going to fail on is incorrect and give us the rest as a valid entry. So I'm going to go ahead and get my old command here. First thing I'm going to change is, of course, the failure. That's going to be is incorrect. The rest can stay pretty much the same, except our login is no longer going to be our list. So we want to have a lowercase and then the user Elliot. But our password is now going to be our F society filtered list. F society filtered dictionary. All right. So we're going to do the same command again, and now we should have a valid username and password combination. All right, so we have a valid username and password combination. So I'm going to write this down in my notepad here as WordPress login is going to be Elliot with password ER28- 0652. And we can actually go ahead and verify this now. So Elliot, then copy this. And we have successfully logged in. Now, it's very nice that we can log in and we can change some things on the website. However, we want to have access to the actual operating system. And for this, there is a very cool Metasploit module. So let's first of all launch Metasploit that can actually upload a fake plugin to the WordPress website and then give you a remote shell. So I'm going to search for WordPress. I think it's WordPress _ shell upload, or WordPress shell, just like this. And here we have, number 2, WP admin shell upload. So I'm going to say use number 2. And now we have our exploit loaded. So let's see what kind of options we need to fill in here. So we have a password, our host, which is going to be the target, a username, and the rest looks pretty good. So I'm going to set the password to whatever the password was here, like so. Set the username to Elliot, set our hosts to our target, and now we can actually exploit it. Now we're getting an error here. Exploit is aborted to failure because it's not checking correctly if it's running WordPress. I mean, it's probably checking it, but it's not detecting that it's running WordPress, so it's just aborting the whole exploit altogether. Now we know that it's actually a WordPress because we just logged in the browser, but we can actually set this to the off state. So I'm going to say show advanced options. And here you can see that there is a WP check, which is going to check if the website is valid or has a valid WordPress install. So we're going to set that to false. And we're going to exploit it again. Now it's actually preparing, uploading the payload, and we get a Meterpreter session. Now it's also giving us a little bit of warnings, because if you're doing this in a real life situation, it's of course uploading the plugin, so you want to manually delete these files. But for us, that doesn't really matter. So I'm going to open a shell, and now we can actually go and do ls. So we're in a specific directory. Now the shell that we have right now is still limited. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to escape this shell and basically spawn a better one. And I'm going to do that with Python. So I'm going to say Python-C, and I'm going to write some Python code now. So I'm going to import PTI, then PTI spawn, and then the shell that we want to spawn, which is going to be bin bash, and close all the brackets. So we now have imported the shell. Yes. So who am I? I'm Damon. Damon is not a user that is used by a user, but a system user. So we actually want to go ahead and check which real users are on the system. So I'm going to go to the home directory, do an ls there, and we see that there is one user called robot. So I'm going to cd to robot, and basically we see another key, which is good, and password raw md5. So I'm going to go ahead and see the contents of this file, and it actually gives us a username password combination which is encrypted. I'm going to write this down in my trusty notepad, like so. And we can now go ahead and try and crack this hash. Now, we can do this with our own software like Hashcat or John the Ripper. but it's going to take a while depending also on your setup, what kind of GPU you have. So the first thing that I would always do on an assessment is see if nobody else has cracked this before. And there's a couple websites that do this. I like to use CrackStation. There's also MD5 hashes or something like that. But here it's pretty basic. You enter the hash, you say that you're not a robot, you complete the CAPTCHA a couple times, and you crack the hash. Now in this case, it has been cracked before and it's actually giving us the alphabet as a result. So I'm gonna go ahead and write this down like so. And now we can actually try and log in as robot. So I'm gonna say su robot. It's gonna ask me for a password. And we are now robot. So if I say, who am I? I'm robot. Now, robot is still not a root user because if I go and cd to root, yeah, my permission is denied. I can do sudo su. Let's see if this gives us anything. Okay, robot is not in the sudoers file, so we cannot execute any commands as root. All right, I made a little boo-boo and I had to stop the recording for a while, but basically what we're going to do now is we're going to look for files on the system that are running as root. And I'm going to show you why this is important in just a second. But let's first start with the command. Don't worry too much about the commands, but we're going to find files in the entire computer with the permission 4000, because those are the ones that are running as their owner, being root. Then type is going to be a file, and then we're going to get that output into def null. This is just how the command works. We're getting a list now of a couple of files that are running as root. And the funny thing is that we have nmap there, and nmap in its earlier versions, not this one, does have an interactive mode. So I'm going to start nmap in interactive mode. And because nmap is running as root, we now have a shell that is running as root. So we can do help and we can see a list of commands. Now these are going to be nmap commands, but the interesting thing is exclamation mark command. And this runs a shell command given in the foreground. So if I do exclamation mark, who am I? It's going to say root. So with this, I can actually go ahead and execute normal system commands as root. So I'm going to say ls root. And here we actually have key number 3 of 3. So I can say cat, exclamation mark cat, root, key 3 of 3.txt, and it gives us the final key. Now we have found all 3 keys. We have successfully gotten root on this system. So you can assume that this computer is now fully under our control. If you want to go ahead and try this yourself, again, there is a link in this description for a full write-up where I go a little bit deeper on the commands and what they're doing. And you can go ahead and download the VM yourself and install it if you'd like to do so. Now, if you like to have more VMs like this, I'm actually going to leave a second link in the description in which you can go ahead and download a small worksheet where I list my favorite virtual machines to hack, which includes Mr. Robot, that can help you practice ethical hacking on your own. So without further ado, I highly thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing and give it a like because it helps others find this channel and get started with ethical hacking. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.